What is up, gentlemen and ladies? Yoshi Smiles here, bringing you guys a new Dead by Daylight discussion video. It's going to be a very short one. I literally just got home from work, sat down, and started recording, so excuse me if I stumble over my words a bit, or if I repeat points, etc., etc. But a lot of people are talking about the Legion changes on the PTB. I know about the Spirit changes and the balancing nerf and the new killer and all that jazz, but I'm not here to talk about that right now. As many of you guys know, Legion is one of my main killers. I've had people asking me about the changes. I've had a lot of people saying that it's a nerf, a lot of other people saying that it's a buff. So I wanted to give my opinion, some statistics, reasons why I think it is the way that it is. So, first off, I'm going to read off everything, declare whether it's a straight up buff or a nerf, whether or not it's really going to impact the meta of the Legion's viable perks and add-ons, and some new strategies they'll be able to do, old strategies that'll disappear, and overall, you know, if their strength level is really going up or down with this patch. So the first change that we have here, mend times for deep wound reduced from 12 seconds while mending yourself, and 8 seconds while being mended by somebody else. So the way that it currently is on live is it's 15 seconds to mend yourself out of deep wounds when you get hit by Feral Frenzy, as well as borrowed time, but I don't think that this affects borrowed time. I think this is specifically for the Legion. So mending is faster by 3 seconds across the board. 15 on yourself, 11 when somebody else does it. Now it's going to be 12 and 8. So that's just a straight up nerf that takes away some of Legion's stall potential. And along with that, they made another change to how Legion's deep wound works, which I will get to in a second, but I'm going to be reading these in order. So the deep wound time, straight up nerf, takes away stall potential, lowers your game stall ability, which is what made Legion very strong. But let's keep going. Excuse me if I sniffle a lot as well, by the way, I'm getting a little sick. Attacking while in Feral Frenzy will no longer be a basic attack. That means that perks that trigger with a basic attack will no longer trigger under these circumstances. So what that means is the following perks will no longer work when you hit a survivor with Feral Frenzy: Dark Devotion, Franklin's Demise, exposed perks already didn't work. Third Seal will no longer work. I'm trying to think. Infectious Fright, if you were running Frank's mixtape for whatever reason and you down somebody with Frenzy, Infectious Fright will not proc, I believe. Actually, scratch that. It says any survivors that are put into the dying state, so that still counts. Alright, excuse me on that. Save the Best for Last and Remember Me will no longer work with Feral Frenzy. And the big one that everybody seems to be talking about is Sloppy Butcher. And I think that's all of them. Okay, so the typical meta Legion build, I'm going to set it up right now. Don't pay any attention to my add-ons because, you know, people run whatever add-ons they want to. But the stereotypical Legion build is Barbecue Ruin, Thanatophobia, and Sloppy Butcher. Some people switch Barbecue out for, you know, Thrilling Tremors, or Pop Goes the Weasel, or Shadowborn if you're weird. But Sloppy Butcher Thanatophobia is like the combo on Legion because you hit them, they get Sloppy Butcher applied to them for slower healing. Thanatophobia is applied to everybody for slower healing and gen progression. The slower healing stacks with Sloppy Butcher, so you have 4 people healing extremely slowly because of these 2 perks, and if they choose not to heal, then they get a gen penalty. Now, first off, this combo is just straight up ass. Always has been, in my opinion. Ever since Legion came out, this has been like the thing. It's bad. Don't do it. Stop using it, please. Especially now that they changed it, there's no reason to use either of these perks. Sloppy Butcher is good on its own, don't get me wrong. Sloppy Butcher was a good perk on Legion. But Thanatophobia is a terrible perk. Stop using it, please. It's good on certain killers. It's good in certain builds. Legion is one of those killers that it's good on, but it's still a bad perk. If you really want stall, use Pop Goes the Weasel, use Thrilling Tremors. Fuck, just use Sloppy Butcher on its own. Don't use Thanatophobia. It is such a bad perk. But them making it so that way on-hit perks no longer work, Sloppy Butcher will no longer be applied, which means that is now an obsolete perk to run on the Legion, unless you're specifically running it for when you down somebody, that way they have Mangled when they get unhooked. But again, that's not going to be viable because of something that I'm going to talk about here in a second. So without Sloppy Butcher, Thanatophobia isn't as viable. So boom, 2 perk slots out of the way immediately. What does this mean for Legion? First off, perk diversity. Legion doesn't have a lot of. But those 2 perks are no longer going to be a staple because they're not going to work as consistently anymore. So what are you going to see Legions running instead now? There's 2 specific things that come to mind. Actually, 3. Excuse me. Enduring Spirit Fury. That's the M1 killer meta at the moment. Pop Goes the Weasel. With either Thrilling Tremors, Discordance, or both Thrilling Tremors and Discordance if they're not running Barbecue. This is my go-to build on Legion. Discordance helps for chaining, and knowing where to rotate and kick a gem with my Pop Goes the Weasel. And I have Barbecue if my Discordance doesn't proc. I would run Thrilling Tremors here, but those bonus blood points are too good not to have. But this is what I've personally been running on Legion for a while now, because I don't like the Sloppy Thana combo. I was doing Pop and Sloppy for a while, but I'm getting off track. Enduring Spirit Fury, Pop and Discordance, those are probably going to be the 2 new big combos now that Sloppy Thana is out of the way. And also maybe Dying Light, although I don't really like this perk. Dying Light with Thanatophobia might become a thing, but I don't like either of those perks. I don't feel like they're impactful enough, especially not on a killer like Legion. Maybe Brutal Strength, I guess. What else do you really have to work with? Monitor and Abuse. Shadowborn, if you're weird. Whispers, I guess. I'm all ears. You know, there's not too much. Legion has not had a lot of perk diversity since the game came out. Now that on-hit perks are being removed, this lowers the amount of perks that they have, but increases the diversity in player builds. You're going to see more Pop and Discordance, more Tremors, you know, Bamboozle even. Like I said before, Brutal, Enduring, Spirit Fury. I think I already said Tremors, Monitor, Dying Light, things like that. That is a nerf, you know, taking away the on-hit, but it's also completely obsolete because of other changes that they made, which I'm going to read off the add-on changes now, so we're going into add-ons. They increased base Feral Frenzy movement speed from 5 meters per second to 5.2 meters per second. Now, I don't know what this is in exact numbers, but if you look, they're 4.6 base movement speed. That's 115. They're a base killer. They go up by 0.4 when they go into Frenzy. Now they're going to go up by 0.6. It's not much, but that's a straight up buff to Frenzy. More movement speed means, you know, you'll be able to get across the map faster. You know, base duration Feral Frenzy is like, I think it's 20 seconds. It might be way less than that. I don't know. I'm not exactly thinking right now. I'm really tired, but long day today. But you know, you're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak. If you Frenzy and you run a straight line now, and then you Frenzy and you run a straight line after the patch, you're gonna get more distance after the patch. That's straight up buff. Decreased Feral Frenzy window vault duration from 1.1 to 0.9 seconds. This is weirded wordly. Essentially, you just vault pallets and, or no, yeah, this is windows. You vault windows 0.2 seconds faster. It's not a big difference. I think that's actually the equivalent of running Bamboozle, because Bamboozle does increase your vault speed in Feral Frenzy. For those of you that didn't know, it also increases the vault speed on pallets. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why I was saying Bamboozle is a decent perk to run. Moving on, decreased pallet vault duration from 1.35 to 0.9 seconds. So pallet vaulting is way faster now. Like, again, it doesn't seem like a lot because the numbers are small, but that is a significant buff to pallet vaulting. The Mischief List add-on has been buffed from additional 0.8 seconds to a full 1 second. That's a straight up buff to an add-on. Again, very small, but it makes this little brown add-on, which was already one of Legion's best add-ons, even better. The Mural Sketch was actually nerfed Decreased duration added from 1.6 to 1.5 is literally a 0.1 second difference. Because of the movement speed increase that they got in Frenzy, this downside to, or this nerf to this add-on is completely obsolete. So the brown one and the green one were just straight up buffed, and this one was nerfed, so that way it's the exact same that it is now, because of the increased movement speed. So this add-on doesn't change, the other two get better. And then the Stolen Sketchbook, which is your best add-on, increases the duration from 2.4 to 2.5. That's 0.1 seconds. They basically just took it from the yellow one and added it to the green one. So the green one gets stronger, the brown one gets stronger, the yellow one gets a little weaker, but you also have to keep in mind, your Frenzy movement speed is faster now. So, doing, just going over the basics real quick, you get more distance out of running just this, the same distance if you were to run just this, and more distance if you were running just this. And more plus the same equals more. More than it currently is as well. And that means these two together are still going to equal more than it does on live. So all of these duration add-ons were just straight up buffed, except for the yellow one, which is balanced. It's exactly as it is pre-patch, because of the increased movement speed. Going into the smiley face pins, these add-ons people have been complaining about for a long time. They're like, they should just be on hit effects, and guess what they did? Hitting a survivor highlighted by Killer Instinct now applies the effects. Now, when you stab somebody with Frenzy, the first person you stab, you start the game, you're in neutral, all 4 people are healthy, you just spawned in. You find somebody, you stab them. They do not get the effect of the pin. Everyone else that you stab in that same chain afterwards will now get the effect of the pin instead of you having to double stab them like you do on live. So this is Third Seal for 60 seconds. This is Sloppy Butcher for 60 seconds. This straight up lets them not heal for 60 seconds. And I don't think anybody thought of the fact that movement speed was increased and duration add-ons were buffed. You don't need to run this anymore. You can run just this and get the same distance that you would with these two, maybe a little bit less. But you can run just Sketchbook now, that opens up an add-on slot, and because Sloppy and Thana, or Sloppy anyway, doesn't work anymore, and Third Seal doesn't work anymore, people that like running those perks have these add-ons now. If you like running Third Seal on Legion, you run the Smiley Face pin. And Sloppy Butcher, you run that because it's the exact same effect. So you can run this yellow add-on with Thanatophobia and get your build that you all love to run. And then, this broken status pin. This is crazy. You can run this with Thanatophobia and they just straight up can't heal. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, whoops, I switched to Spirit. No, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that they nerf those on-hit perks, aside from Save the Best for Last, that's the only one that's just straight up downside. All of the other ones can be replaced by add-ons. And you have another add-on slot open now that they changed duration add-ons and changed base Frenzy. So you can run double duration, you can run duration and recharge, you can run duration and cooldown, you can run duration and a blade, you can run Eerie Button, and now you can run all these pins. It opened up add-on diversity while slightly slimming down perk diversity. Also, all these pins getting changed, straight up huge buff, especially this broken status one. That's actually ridiculous. And I don't think anybody realizes how crazy that is. And then the final add-on that they changed was the Filthy Blade. Currently on live, it adds 3.5 seconds to the mend timer. After the change, it's going to only add 2.5, so they nerfed it by 1 second, and that's because they reduced how long it takes for deep wounds to mend. So that's just to balance it out, so that way you don't bring it back up to be the same amount of mend time that it is. It'll be 0.5 seconds less. It doesn't really make a difference. This add-on's still going to be good, especially in game slow builds. You're going to run Filthy Blade when you're running Dying Light and Thanatophobia, So that's all the changes. My question to you guys is, how is any of this a nerf? Aside from 2 things. The on-hit changes, which nerfs only save the best for last. Because now you have these pin add-ons. and the deep wound timer being reduced, which I think that change should be reverted. I like the nerf to the blade because this add-on is extremely strong. It's not just annoying, it's strong. But the deep wound timer being reduced from 15 to 12 seconds is ridiculous because that takes away Legion's game stall. And you're not going to have any game stall if you're running this unless you have Thana. Which nobody's really going to run Thana after the patch anyway. So, all in all, if you look at everything that I've presented, all the information that I've presented, going over everything, the only nerfs to Legion are Save the Best for Last doesn't work anymore, which wasn't a very good perk on them to begin with, in my opinion. And the deep wound timer being shorter. Duration add-ons buffed, pin add-ons buffed, more add-ons to play with, different perk diversity. Completely changes the meta of the Legion. So overall, this is a good change in my opinion, aside from, again, the deep wound timer being changed. Everything else is a straight up buff. So I don't understand why people are unhappy with the change or saying Legion got butchered again. And I also don't understand why people say that they're the worst killer in the game when they have so much stall potential and map pressure. But that's a different rant for a different day. I want to make more discussion videos in the future. I wanted to make one on the Spirit, but the Spirit is already getting her fistful of nerfs, which are not a lot of nerfs in my opinion to begin with. She's still going to be very strong, people. But, you know, I wanted to put my 2 cents in about the Legion changes. And I want to make another discussion video about them and their strength in the current meta, like the old one that I made. If you guys remember that old one that I made, it was talking about, you know, the problem with the Legion, why they were unfun to have in the game and play against and play as. And then I stated changes that I wanted for them, and the changes that I stated were exactly the changes that I got, except for I was going to remove the deep wound mechanic completely and just make Frenzy injure and reveal uninjured survivors. But what they did was much better. And people were like, oh, they butchered him, he's unplayable now, worst killer in the game. You see, the difference between him and actually bad killers is he gets a free easy first hit, he has anti-stealth, and he's either a one-shot down killer, or you waste a lot of time mending and then healing. That is his strength, is his stall potential, the same strength that old Freddy has. Or had. So, how is Bubba better than Legion? You know, how is Clown better than Legion? How is Wraith better than Legion? How is Pig better than Legion? Pig is debatable. Pig is very controversial. I know that. But everybody that knows me knows that I think that the worst killer in the game is Pig. I always have, I always will. Because box RNG is a bitch. And if you're one of those people that says, oh, her ambush is her power, okay. You ambush mind game me, I dare you. I will just run away from the loop and go to a completely different one and keep you busy there instead. But I'm rambling on too much. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. There's my opinion on the Legion changes. Straight up buff to everything except for the deep wounds change, in my opinion. I'm extremely excited for these changes, especially with the pin add-ons, because holy crap, do I have like 90 of these broken status Legion pins. And then to just put something out there real quick, the Oni, the new killer, his new perk Nemesis, where whenever a survivor stuns you, they become the obsession and they receive you get the undetectable status on them, or no, it's they go oblivious, which means that you have no terror radius and no red stain. That on Legion is going to bring old Legion back, for those of you who don't know. You stab a survivor with Frenzy, you chase them until they stun you with a pallet, and then because they're obsession and they have oblivious, you have no terror radius, which means their bar goes down because they're not in terror radius. So they need to make it so that way deep wounds does not go down in chase, because that would remove that from being an issue. As well as Tinker, being able to do that with Tinker Legion. But even then, people are going to moonwalk. Legion having deep wounds as a mechanic is very easily exploitable. That's the issue with the killer at the moment. But that perk needs to be looked at on its interactions with Legion. Anyways, I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I don't upload very frequently at all, but I really wanted to get my thoughts out there because of all the posts that I've been seeing of people being like, why did they nerf Legion? They didn't. They nerfed one thing and one thing alone, and that was his stall potential, and that's the one thing that makes him good. But even with that nerf, with the changes to the duration add-ons, and the movement speed of Frenzy and the vault speed, you get easier chains, which is more map pressure, faster, more consistently. That is why they nerfed the men time to be shorter. And they need to revert that change, again, in my opinion. And if they do that, Legion will rise a bit in popularity and in strength. And on my personal tier list, I do not have Legion as the worst in the game. Mine goes Pig, Clown, Doc, Bubba, Wraith, Trapper, then Legion. And that's going bottom up. And then from there, Myers, Ghostface, Plague, Demogorgon, Hag, Huntress, Billy, Spirit, Nurse. Oh, I forgot Freddy. Freddy is right under Billy, and above Huntress. I don't know why I just ran through that. I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share if you're new. I'd appreciate the help a lot. I kind of want to start putting out videos again. And whenever I get my work schedule for next week, I'll plan a stream. I want to start live streaming again more frequently as well. So, like I said, whenever I get my schedule, I'll post about it on Twitter, which for those of you who don't follow me, it is at YoshiSmiles_OW. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Toodaloo.